margin relocation. So when we have to restore a tooth that needs an indirect restoration, like an adhesive onlay, sometimes we have this focus and this type of question: do we need margin relocation that maybe could be generally interproximal, but also in another area of our cervical finishing line? So at this type of question, if we go in the pre-adhesive era and in the pre-adhesive restorative, ideally many colleagues would like to answer no, because it's something that is not sure, it's something that is quite risky, and it doesn't make sense to approach a deep margin in this type of way, okay? But nowadays we know absolutely that it's something that is safe. We know from the current data, we know from some data that is coming from some years, and we know that it's a quite safe procedure. But like every trends, we have the risk to overestimate, to create some procedures that are unuseful, unnecessary in that specific situation, and we want to apply it. Okay, so first of all, when we have a margin in a natural enamel and we are equigingival, or even better, extragingival, it doesn't make sense, in my opinion, to relocate a margin, because if that margin is approachable with an isolation, with a dental dam for the build-up, for the cementation, adhesive cementation, if it's approachable for the impression that could be analogical or could be also an optical impression, it doesn't make sense to add another step in order to have something that is not so useful, because to have the cementation on the natural enamel is absolutely safe, is absolutely the first choice. So going to talk about deep margin and the deep periodontal tissues, if we are very, very deep and we cannot isolate for a build-up that area, is contraindicated to have a relocation or a deep elevation, okay? So we have to take into consideration that area, yes, that area that should be not very deep, but not very superficial. So usually when we have a very deep area, we can approach with a classical surgical crown lengthening. Now is available also this approach, so-called STEM technique, that it was published in the second issue of 2022 by Gabriella Romano as a first author, and I have also the pleasure to be in the group of all the authors, the co-authors of this article. And in that case, there is the description of a little bit more modern and conservative surgical approach when the margin is not so deep, okay? But being in that intermediate situation, to relocate the margin, to do a deep margin elevation is absolutely the first choice. So ideally we should be around 0.5, 0.7, 1 millimeter under the gingiva, below the free gingival margin, and then in that case we can avoid the surgical approach and we can take advantage of the adhesive strategies and to have that margin a little bit more comfortable, more approachable, more readable, and more manageable. How much we have to create this deep margin elevation, this relocation? 0.5 millimeter is something that is from a classical approach, but talking in a more clinical view, in a more practical view, if I have that margin that is 0.7 below and I relocate just 0.5, I do a step in order don't have absolutely the maximum result, the maximum benefit that I would like. So talking in a practical point of view, to relocate this margin around 1 millimeter, it makes sense, maybe a little bit more, but it depends on the situation, it depends on the soft tissue, it depends on the approachability of that area. Anyway, I don't think that we have to be so shy and to create that small relocation when we do all the strategy, we apply all the steps for doing this, okay? So, if you like this content, this video, please share it with your friends. Follow us on our social media channels and subscribe to them. And see you at the next sharing. Do better than yesterday.